All right. So I know you don't want to comment specifically on it, and you don't want to swing one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you see or do you see the university and its makeup changing with the 21 ordinance? And what do you think? Will it be for better or for worse, or how do you think the campus will react, or how will they change?
Well, I think in many ways we are going to see a change. I think what we as student government officials can do is basically work with whatever comes. I mean, personally, and individually, I guess I'm opposed to it. I think there are some unintended consequences and unintended repercussions, I guess, that could come about from it. But then again, that's just me being pragmatic and me being a pessimist, I guess. But at the same time, I think it could be definitely a big step in the right direction, because we could see some new funding and a large amount of funding come towards alternatives, late night alternatives that could have just in a short term and also in a long term, a great benefit for the university. So maybe whether it's more concerts, whether it's more just late night events, movies being shown, I think that we as student government folks can work with the administration and the Office of Student Life people and the IMU staff, and really just anyone who's interested, whether it's campus officials or also just community people, to make sure that we're not putting such a large emphasis, that the student body doesn't have such a large emphasis on maybe going downtown, and maybe that there are other options that we can provide for them. Overall, I think we will see a change. Who knows? Now that it's going to be put on the ballot in November, it may go back to just being the way it is now. Back in November, after it could possibly be revoked. But who knows? I mean, it's a confusing issue, and it's a complex issue, and it's an emotional issue for people. I mean, we've seen the energy from students who feel that it's taking away their right to just go downtown and hang out with their friends who are underage. So I mean, it'll be interesting. We're willing to work with anyone. Like I said, personally, I mean, I'm opposed to it as a whole, but I would be willing to work with whatever comes about from it. So
Okay. So obviously you have Greek ties,
Mm-hmm.
and this university has a small population
Mm-hmm.
of Greek students
Yep.
now. I guess I'm asking, what do you think the Greek community stands here on the Iowa City and the campus community?
Mm-hmm.
Where should it stand? Where do you think it's going, and how do you think this measure will affect it, or in any way?
Well, first I'll just touch on the community as a whole. I think it's a special part of the university. Like you said, it is relatively small when you compare it to other campuses, and I think in many ways that makes us even more special, because I mean I think it's 9-10% of the student body. So there's a kind of a special kind of smaller niche within a larger community, which is nice. I think it's often misperceived, I'd say, the Greek community. We contribute many service hours to the community, and we do great in terms of the classroom and also just out of the classroom. And I think oftentimes we're perceived as just party animals, or stuck up kind of rich kids or whatever. That's often the perception that I hear from unaffiliated people. So obviously, day in, day out, we're trying to change that, and hopefully we can over time. But the 21 ordinance will be interesting, because I know that say if you're trying to have a social exchange, I guess, with a sorority, if you're in a fraternity and you're trying to have a social exchange with a sorority, the only option that you can go to is downtown, and usually a majority of the time the people who will go to those exchanges tend to be 20-year-olds, maybe sophomores, who are just trying to meet other students. So that might cause a problem if you're looking at having it at a downtown establishment where kids are minding the rules, and they're staying under control, and they're not violating anything, but now they're not allowed to go. So I can see that being a problem. We're gonna have to work with the Office of Student Life and also the VP of Student Services to find alternatives for them, whether it means starting those exchanges at 7 o'clock early. I mean, I don't know how likely that is, to make sure that there's no law violations, or just thinking of new kind of innovative ways to allow for those events to take place, while also positively marketing the Greek community and getting the word out on the good things they're doing. So I think the ordinance will have an effect. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Student Services Office can do, and also the Office of Student Life to work with us to make sure that our students have a good Greek experience, but they're not being they're not being isolated, I guess, from the overall community. So.
Okay. Nice. All right. Okay, so I'll go both ways on this one. What is the biggest thing that you think needs to change at the University of Iowa, or one thing that you maybe not even don't like, but you think needs to change for the campus to evolve, for the university to evolve?
It's a good question. I'd like to see more. I mean, it's always. I think the campus leadership in terms of students is great, but I'd like to see more just student engagement in the community. Whether it's getting involved in a student organization, just helping out in the community, contributing service hours to the community, it doesn't matter. I think we can always have more of that, and that's one thing I'd like to see change. And I think student government can kind of be a voice behind that and show students that there are things to do on campus and that they can get involved. And also retention is huge. I mean, and that goes back to again to the engagement. I mean, when you're engaged and when you're busy and you're involved, you're gonna more likely want to come back for your second, your third, your fourth year. And retention has been a problem at the university. Not compared to schools nationwide, but in terms of the Big Ten, we are the lowest school in the Big Ten in terms of retention. We have about an 84% first year retention rate. Which is pretty disappointing when you compare it to schools like Michigan or schools like Northwestern or Purdue, which have a 94, 95, Wisconsin, a 94, 95% retention rate. So we'd like to combat that, and we think, again, that's something where it all comes back to finding your own community and also just getting involved. So civic and student engagement are huge, and that's something that we'd like to really get behind here on campus.
Okay. So on the flip side, what's the best part about this campus right now, or what are you most proud of to be an Iowa student for?
I would say just how can I correctly word this? I would say just the multitude of opportunities that are presented to you, whether it's a job, whether it's a student organization, whether it's a specific major, a specific faculty member that you can work with. There's so many different resources that you can go to that can help you grow as a person, help you grow as a student, and then help you just have a satisfying and safe 4-year college experience. So that's something that always excites me, whether it's just working in student government, whether it's being a part of a Greek community, whether it's just meeting and engaging with a faculty member who's passionate about a certain subject or a certain scholarly area. And that's always exciting to me, and that's what a lot of campuses offer. But at Iowa, I think it's especially important because it's a smaller community compared to other Big Ten universities. We do have the smallest student body in terms of Big Ten universities, but it just feels so exciting and so vibrant all the time, just because the campus is exciting and there's so many different opportunities that you can take advantage of.